audio sounds. I think we're live. Check, 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 check. I think we're live. Check, 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 check. Nice, that sounds pretty good. Oh, not done enough stretching today, so we're gonna have to do some more. Otherwise, I'm afraid I might injure myself, and that's not gonna be good for anybody. Another beautiful day on the East Coast. Perfect day to get some work done, get some practice in. Probably don't need these rocks under my mat either. Go ahead and get that squared away. Tell ya, every time I think this is pretty cleaned up and ready to go, it just isn't. It just isn't. That's okay. Whew. Oh. Tell you what, you get to this side of 30, the body just starts to get a little more vocal. It'll just say, hey, if you think you're gonna just step up there and start swinging a golf club, you're definitely wrong. Excuse me. Hi. I know, you know you're not supposed to eat the grass. Silly dog. Ooh. Yeah, you silly. You silly. Oh, I hope everybody's having a good Tuesday. Thanks for checking out the stream, hanging out for a little bit this afternoon. Or evening, depending on where in the world you might be tuning in from. One of my favorite parts about doing this is getting people from all over the world to come hang out. You know, people from, I think, every continent, obviously, except Antarctica, which is uninhabited. We've had people from, you know, Australia, all over Europe and South America. Some people from, you know, Africa and all the different kinds of countries in Asia. Traveling the world is definitely one of the things that, you know, changed me as a person and changed my perspective on a lot of things. Taught me lots about gratitude and wow, that feels totally different now that I'm really trying to, you know, maintain the spine angle and shaft lean through more of the downswing without kind of throwing that club head and losing a lot of that angle. Hey, Sam the Man said hi. What's up, Sam? Thanks for saying hi. Appreciate you checking out the stream today. Anybody playing golf this week? I don't think I will be. Got a busy weekend coming up. I want to see how that one looks on the camera because it just feels so different. Emmett's here. Nakatula said hi. Dan said hi. RST said hi. What's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. So yeah, it just feels totally different. Really working on trying to keep that spine angle and wrist angle, right? Through impact. I think it's just gonna feel awkward for a while until we get a new kind of motor pattern ingrained. I do think that's the right feel, though. It's really just kind of chest stays down. My rib cage is really just rotating more instead of sliding this way. Instead of like getting closer to the ball and towards the target, kind of falling. More just rotating and turning. Hello, sir. What are you doing over here? Do you want to say hi? Do you want to say hi to the people? Say I'm a superstar. Say I'm a superstar. Yeah. Yeah, you the best guy? You the best guy? You being good? I hope so. Whew. Gotta stay hydrated. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be the best place for your proselytizing, but you could try. Albie said hi. This is an 8 iron. Thanks for saying hi, Albie. Welcome to the stream, guys. Thanks for saying hi if you're in the chat. Got a lot of new subscribers recently. We just went over, I think, 4,100. Which is incredible. Just, you know, the amount of support that you guys have shown to me throughout this journey, right? It's just been, I don't know, what, 8 months, 9 months since we started on YouTube. And, you know, I had no idea that the audience would be this, you know, receptive and supportive to, you know, just a guy who wanted to talk about his experience and showcase some golf stuff. It's really turned into some pretty cool stuff. I've met lots of very interesting people. I've learned tons of new skills. So much to be grateful for in this journey. And I'm going to keep showing up, just like you guys keep showing up for me. Trying to make this, you know, positive, you know, uplifting, engaging type of community. You know, there's plenty of bad stuff going on. You turn the news on for 5 minutes and there's something scary to listen to. So if you need a break from all that, just come hang out. We'll hit some golf balls together. You know, share some positivity, tell stories, you know, talk about some difficult stuff, right? I talk about my mental health struggles. I've talked about my sobriety and being a recovering alcoholic, you know. So I do think these are, there's some, you know, heavy, important stuff to talk about, but the framing, the context is always going to be, you know, in a positive light, a proactive, like, you know, everybody has stuff that weighs on them from time to time or things they have to deal with, but what are the proactive steps you can implement to get where you want to be? Right? And most of that is just rooted in my own experience of dealing with these things, right? I didn't want to be an alcoholic anymore. I didn't want to be overweight anymore. I didn't want to be depressed anymore. And, you know, I did a lot of proactive work. It was really hard. I'm not going to tell you it's easy. But I have, you know, done a lot of these things to try and become a much, you know, more calm, present, happy person. And I think just, you know, having somebody say and talk about these things and say, you know, hey, it might not be easy, but these are things you can do or tools you can use, I think could be helpful. Des wants to know, how do I get consistent rotation and strike? Drewski wants to know, how hard are you swinging your iron? So on the golf course, I would say probably about 85%, maybe 90%. Right, is my on-course yardages. Like I have an, hello, you being crazy? Hi. Look at you guys. Yeah, 85-90% on the golf course, Drewski, is what I would say. If you're looking for better strike with your irons, Des wants to know consistent rotation and strike. I like the band drill, right? So you can grab a band like this, go ahead and tuck it under your arms, and then make some, you know, 3/4 swings where you maintain the connection, right? This is going to help you keep your arms and chest moving together, keep that club in front of you, right? So that'll definitely help with the rotation part, keeping this all tucked together, both in the backswing and the through swing, right? And then the best thing I would tell you, if you want to learn strike, how do I consistently get the center? You want to get the center of your club face on the golf ball, right? You're trying to, you know, hit this spot. What you got to do is practice that technique at a slower speed, right? You really need to slow down and just practice the technique. You know, so I have an 8-iron in my hand. On the range, I might try to, you know, if I'm practicing my ball striking, I might try to hit this club 30 yards in the air, right? And I'm just going to make little chippy swings, but I'm focusing on hitting the center of this club face, right? This is what, you know, our target is. Hey, Sahil's here. What's up? Would you ever try the Bryson same length shafts for all clubs? I would try it. I definitely would try it. I think you have to be willing to try new things in the pursuit of getting better. But I don't think I'm in such a hurry to try them or feel so compelled that they might make me better, you know, that I'm going to rush out and get fit for a set of them. So yes, but I'm not in a huge hurry, I guess is what I would say. So again, you see me doing, you know, just a whole bunch of this. Part of it is trying to get warmed up and loosened up, right? But also, you know, when I'm working on my ball striking, I am doing it at a slow speed, right? It's a bunch of little half swings. I'm exaggerating these movements. Right, so even like that one, I can feel, you know, my head, my spine angle kind of came out of it a little bit, not as much as it was before, right? But I'm able, that's what I'm really trying to key in on and work on, is maintaining that spine angle through impact. Who else is working on their game? Anybody have stuff they're working on? Des said, thanks. Jake, how long till we see you on the tour? Ha ha ha. Imagine. Sahil said he's from Africa. Very cool, Sahil. Where are you from? I'm trying to think where in Africa I've been. I've been to Morocco. I've been to Egypt. That might be it. I haven't been to South Africa yet. I haven't been to really any of the interior of Africa, but would love to spend a lot more time there. It's a beautiful part of the world from what I've seen. Excuse me. Yeah, that's a big hole in the yard. I know. Good job. What, do you think you didn't see a hole there and you thought we maybe need one? I love these dogs, but sometimes they do like to dig holes that we don't necessarily need. How long till we see you on the tour? Maybe in my next lifetime, Jake. How about this? I would love to qualify for like a US Mid-Am. I think I could do that someday in the next few years. I'd have to work really hard and keep getting a lot better. But I've been a +1, +1.5 handicap before, and you know, I know what it takes to play that level of golf. Excuse me. No, no, no. But I'll also say, you know, never say never, Jake. Never fully know where this crazy life will take you, right? And maybe something radically changes and you know, I become good enough to play professional golf for a living. That would be super cool. But I'm not counting on it. It doesn't feel like it's super attainable. Again, just, you gotta understand how good those guys are, right? If you want to shoot, you know, 66 in every Monday qualifier and never once qualify for a PGA Tour event, then you could do that. I think I'll have more success, you know, sharing my story and trying to motivate people, helping them understand that you can change your life. There are, you know, tangible things you can do to become a, you know, a better, happier person. I think that's more where my future lies, rather than, you know, being just an incredible golfer. You know, if I could get to +2, I'd be thrilled. And that's still miles away from playing on the PGA Tour. Not the best strike there. That's okay. So you can see we're still going really slow, just trying to keep that club head nice and wide. And then turning. This right side compresses, right? These ribs just kind of rotate around my spine, but my head isn't coming up and out of it, which is really the issue I was starting to experience somewhat severely. I also really like doing this kind of work in front of the net, guys, not on the driving range, because I don't have to worry where the golf ball goes, right? If I make a bad strike because I'm really working on, you know, changing my motor pattern in a pretty material way, right? Well, I don't want to give up on the work I'm doing because I start seeing the ball go everywhere. But with the net, I don't have to worry about that, right? I can really focus in on those key, you know, moves that I'm working on. Without that, you know, subconscious even worrying about where the target is, what the golf ball is doing in the air. Also, yesterday we started doing this hit and stop drill. Once I feel a little bit, you know, more loosened up, ready to go, we'll probably do some of those where, you know, it's just a full swing and you try to stop the club as quickly as you can after impact. Right, when I did it well, I was getting to about waist high. But that has really helped me too, I think, just develop that feel of, you know, we're not getting up and extended and coming out of it closer to the ball, but it's just, you know, staying in your posture. Oh, crazy. Dan said hi. Hey, Dan. Sahil wants to know, what area of the game are you worst in? Driver, irons, wedges, or putting? Well, it depends on the day. Overall, I would probably say putting is what feels like it holds me back the most. You know, I have at least 1 or 2 3-putts, it feels like, every round. You know, I don't feel like I make as many in the 5 to 15 foot range as I maybe could. Hey, Iron Star's here. Your boy Jeffrey, that is exactly right. It is the net return. Happy 216 Gabe. Hair on fleek. Thanks very much, Critters. It has been getting pretty long. I have not gotten it taken care of in quite a while. These are tailor-made irons, Teddy. Thanks for asking. Won't let you down, said wrong. That's the mentality needed to get there. The never say never mentality. Yeah, exactly right. I think that's true of everything, right? You know, say you haven't done it yet, right? I haven't learned a third language yet. I haven't broken my career low of 64 yet, right? You know, you truly never know what could happen. And I think in order to achieve big things, you have to have somewhat delusional goals, right? You know, my goal isn't to make it to the PJ Tour, but my goal is to qualify for a US Mid-Am and to get to a, you know, +2, +3 handicap. And those are lofty goals, but I think you need that level of delusion that, you know, to really push yourself. You know, if I was comfortable staying as a, I don't know, mediocre 0 to 2 handicap, then I wouldn't, you know, keep practicing. I wouldn't, you know, get up early and go practice and do live streams, bring you guys along. So I think it's at some level, having the delusional goal forces the behavior, right? You don't start by saying, well, I'm just going to practice a bunch. I think you set the goal first, and then you know, your behavior becomes a result of trying to achieve that goal. And you know what? If in a couple of years I achieve those goals and the goals change, and somehow, some way, it feels like playing professional golf is a, you know, a goal that's within reach for me, then maybe we'll say, hey, let's go do it. Let's document the process. You know, hopefully I'll still have been doing YouTube, making content, doing these live streams with you guys for a couple of years at that point. Right? I would love to have that be a way to support that journey, right? It's very expensive to try and be a professional golfer. You know, but if I had a YouTube following and there was a way to monetize that continually, like we've already monetized the channel, right? Because of you guys, which is incredible. But you know, I'm talking about, you know, really supporting like the dream, the search, the progress of playing professional golf. Again, I'm talking, you know, we're talking still 2 to 3 years from now, I imagine. But that is what it would look like, I imagine. Because I just, you know, I look at the scores from the Monday qualifiers on the PJ Tour, and you're like, dude, I don't know. You know, I shoot in the 60s like a couple times a year. And I'm probably not going to shoot, you know, 63 to get into a PJ Tour event from 7,000 yards, you know, on a super hard golf course. Not, you know, in with this current game that I have. But as we know, you know, the game that I have today won't be what I have tomorrow or the next day. So if you just keep working at it, keep trying to get better at something, you never know what could happen. Oh, let's stay hydrated today, guys. John's here from Wisconsin. Behind you, if you could collab with one golf YouTuber, who would it be? Great question. I think I'd probably say Bryson, just because I think it's such a unique position to be in, right? He was a successful professional golfer, then just started making content to try and change his, you know, persona or people's opinion of him, and I'm sure he enjoys it. And so I think just, you know, I have so many questions for Bryson, right? Like, what was that like? What's the process like? How did you think about, you know, combining these two things? Do you think about it totally separately, or otherwise? So yeah, I think Bryson would be a really good one. Because again, he has like, what, 2.5 million YouTube subscribers now? He doesn't even need the PJ Tour, the Live Tour. He could just say, hey, I'm Bryson. I have 10 of my friends coming to play in a tournament, 30 of my friends, whatever, or, you know, professional golfers, just going live on my YouTube, right? Don't you think that would do crazy numbers? I mean, he could surely, you know, survive, sustain himself without a tour. I think it's a fascinating position to be in, just, you know, as a observer and a, you know, very, very small part of this ecosystem. So I think Bryson would be my answer. Plus, he hits it like, you know, like what, 200 miles an hour ball speed. I'd love to see that in person. John said, love the setup. Thanks, John. That's awesome, Teddy. Wisconsin, very cool. Some of my buddies are going out to Sand Valley pretty soon. Senior Tour, here we go. Yeah, Senior Tour would be cool, right? You know, if I had a successful career for the next 20 years, and then I was good enough to play, you know, professional golf in the over 50 league. That'd be fun. Curtis family's here. What's up, Curtis? Clicks is also here. Clicks is one of our OG watchers. Really starting to get a feel for it now. It's just a totally different release than what I was doing before, right? I used to do this. Stand up and throw it. Get on your toes, right? Now I'm trying to really just rotate and hold, right? And then the release is almost after impact. But it's just, you know, that staying with the chest down and turning the ribs, right? Instead of sliding. And again, guys, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to really just slow down, make the swing smaller. When you're working on, you know, you could be working on fixing your slice. You could be working on your you know, ball striking, your ground contact, right? Whatever it is, it's so imperative to slow down, make the movement smaller, right? Because you're working on technique. That technique will translate, right? When you practice hitting the center of that face, and then you say, okay, well, I need to make a full swing and hit the ball further, the technique will be there. But practicing it at full speed is going to be much more difficult. Not to mention, I would tell you that, you know, if you're doing execution practice, right, full swings, you know, ideally you're picking a target, you're evaluating the wind, what club am I hitting, how far do I want this ball to go, you know, what is my acceptable lateral dispersion, and then you grade yourself, right? So I might hit, you know, say I'm gonna do 10 balls of execution practice at the end of my range session. I have those 10 balls, you know, I'm gonna pick different targets on the range, and then, you know, I'm gonna note down, you know, okay, I missed 4 on the left side and 6 on the right side, you know, maybe 7 of them were short, so I'm not taking enough club, right? This is how you can kind of use your practice to you know, give yourself data or, you know, more feedback than just standing there trying to hit balls and try to improve. So I think that's more execution practice, whereas this sort of technique work, you know, is much more about exaggerating the movements, doing it at a slow speed, and a lot of reps. There was a TPI video I watched recently where they were asking, I think it was Joel Damon, right? When you practice on the range, when you're doing your practice sessions, are you physically or mentally tired? He's like, physically. You know, I go and hit balls for a couple hours and I chip and putt, you know, so I'm out there for 4 or 5 hours. It's like, well, when you play golf, are you mentally or physically tired? He was immediately like, mentally tired. Well, so then why aren't you practicing the same way that you're going to be tested on the golf course, right? The technique is one thing, but you also need those mental reps of, you know, did I evaluate the wind and the uphill and the lie properly? You know, some of that you have to do on the golf course, but a lot of it you can replicate in practice. You know, do some random practice. Play 3 holes on the driving range and see what you might score. You know, go through your pre-shot routine, right? For me, that's I stand behind the ball, I make a practice swing, trying to really feel whatever shot I'm about to hit. Then from there, I'm picking a spot out in front of my ball that's, you know, kind of in line with my target. I step in, I aim the face over that spot, or, you know, at that spot, whatever it is in front of me that I picked out, right? One look at my target, kind of settle in, one more look at the target, and then I swing. So you can do that kind of execution practice on the driving range as well. Because if you don't practice it, you can't expect to just implement it when you get to the course. Kyle likes my tats. Thanks very much, Kyle. Noah says, my ball's going in a straight line, always right of my target by like a lot, but the actual flight is straight. Well, Noah, what that tells me is that your club face is square to the path, right? The ball's not curving through the air very much, but it is starting out to the right. So your path is to the right of your target, right? If this was our target line, your path is going out this way, right, to the right, but the face is square to that path, right? So two options. You can work on getting the path more to the left, right, more neutral, or you could work on finding a way to close the club face, right, and see that ball turn or draw right to left through the air. So kind of a couple different options there. Probably a mix of both, right? If it's going really far off to the right, you probably need to work on shifting that path more neutral, more to the left. But give that a try. Curtis family's here. Lim's here. Glad you guys are sorting it out in the comments. Hello. Hi. Are you a superstar? Oh my gosh, look how much dirt you have on you. Hi. Hi. Hello. Oh, yeah, you're a big girl. Look at all this dirt you have on you. Look at you. You're a mess. You're a mess. You want to be a superstar? Oh, look at your brother came to say hi too. He said, I don't want to be excluded. No, don't eat the grass. Don't eat the grass. Yeah. Yeah. He says, I want to be a superstar too, Dad. Hi. Look at you. You're gonna have to get cleaned off before you come in the house. You guys are nuts. The joys of having these animals in my house. They really are the best, guys. I like dogs more than about 99% of people. So it's not personal, it's just you're probably not as cool as a dog. I mean, I could name, a dozen great dogs that I know. Oh boy. I don't know what you guys are going on about, but I'm going to let it sort itself out. That's what we do have awesome moderators for. Back straight. Pretty good. Love when my net return sends that ball right back to me. Also, guys, if you're working on your game, you're saying, hey, I'm struggling with a slice, or I'm topping my 3-wood. If you guys have questions or drills you want me to demonstrate, drop them in the chat. Some of my favorite times on the live stream is when we really, give somebody a drill or a feel or something to work on, and they come back and they say, man, I tried that and it really worked for me. Shane's here. He's got his dog on the deck. Amazing. Grant Horvat or Garrett Clark? Good question. What do you guys think in the chat? I'm going to pick Grant just because I love his content. I love his, personality. He seems very, positive and always has a smile on his face. He seems extremely grateful for the life that he's built for himself, right? Obviously, it takes a lot of hard work, but I think anybody who's had success would tell you there is a lot of luck involved. And he seems extremely grateful just, to be living his life. And, getting to share that with all of us. Now the one dog is just rolling around in the grass, having a grand time. You guys are nuts. Totally different release than what I'm used to, but if you want to get better, you got to do something different, right? What's the quote? I think it's, Denzel or somebody like that, who's like, if you want to get somewhere you've never been, you have to do something you've never done. And I think that's a great reminder for like, you can't just, have big aspirations or dreams or goals for yourself and not put in the work, right? You have to push yourself to get there. All right, I don't know if our mods are here, but I think if you guys want to take it offline and debate draws and fades somewhere else, then you're more than welcome, but I'm not entirely convinced the rest of the stream is intrigued. Man, just feels extremely different, but good. Like, it's just every strike is very crisp. It's almost like I'm like leaning back, but I think that's just from years and years of going forward. So just maintaining my spine angle probably feels like I'm going backwards. All right. Do you walk or ride, push cart, carry? Good question, Shane. I typically, it's about 50-50. My preference is to walk with a push cart. However, due to the physical state of my body, I have not been able to do that much this year. It's actually part of why I'm not going to Wisconsin, disappointingly. It's because I physically would not be able to play golf, 4 or 5 days in a row and walk every day. So got to figure out what's going on with the knee still. I've been riding a lot as a result. As you can tell, it's not a thing where swinging does not aggravate it whatsoever. I can stand here and hit balls for hours, but walking, for whatever reason, causes just a huge amount of inflammation in my knee, to the point where it's extremely painful and stiff, and I can have a hard time bending it at all. So I've not been walking much, unfortunately. And even with a cart sometimes, like I played 2 days in a row this past weekend and had a cart, and even then just, walking 2 days in a row, getting to my ball and back, it was really in a bad way. Hi. So I'm an aspiring walker, I should say. I aspire to walk every round of golf. I think it is, a much better experience, but Rage Bait, what's your handicap? Usually around 0. JRS, I hit them off the back foot. Cute doggos, thanks, Lim. Right, so my chipping setup is, my feet are very close together. I choke down about halfway on the grip. This is an 8-iron, but I usually use a 60. Well, I have it right here. I can just actually chip one. Right, so if I was going to chip this ball, pretty much for every kind of shot, I play it, off of this back instep. Right, whether that's, one where I'm opening the face, and kind of flopping it, out and across it, right? Or, make it a little closer to it, but if I was going to hit a low one with like some hook spin to get it to run out with this club, right, I put it, that same spot, and then just kind of cover it and, let that face turn over. For me, I think it just, as I was practicing, I didn't take a bunch of lessons early on, but, just trying to figure out how to get the ball on the green, around the green, right? Just removing that one variable of not, playing around with the ball in my stance or having to worry about it. I just set up to it the same way every time. Weight's probably 60%, 65% on the front foot. And then you just kind of drop that club on the back of the ball. So I've had a lot of success with that approach, and You know, short game is typically one of the better parts of my game overall, I would say. Shane, the way the game was intended. I agree. Corker said hi. Marie said hi. JRS said thanks. You're welcome, JRS. Appreciate you guys being here, showing support to the stream. Dropping a like or, you know, hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already. All right, so now I feel pretty loose. We're going to do some hit and stop drills. So you'll see what I mean by that in a second. That wasn't very good. The idea is that we're trying to stop that club as quickly as we can after impact. That was better. Trying to really get that finish as abbreviated as we can. And this is to work on, again, keeping this hip, you know, back, this left hip moving back, maintaining that spine angle, right, not coming up and out of it, and in this way, right, trying to maintain that angle through the hit. It's really noticeable when I do it correctly like that. Like I'm just so much more, you know, maintaining this tilt, right, this angle. But when you're not used to doing it, it's a very noticeable difference. Oh, careful, baby girl. Careful. What? What are you doing? What? See, I'm gonna help you practice, Dad. I'm gonna help you practice. Yeah. It's a good thing you didn't just have a bath, too. Look at you, covered in dirt. Guess that means you were having fun, huh? That's what matters. That's what matters. Where's your brother? Go get him. Go get your brother. You gonna help us practice? Huh? Huh? What's he doing? What's he doing? What's he doing? I see him. I see him. Oh, there he is. Good job. Good job. So hit and stop is a good one, guys. I've also been working on this Ludwig drill, right, where he just holds this right hand, you know, flat against the back of the grip, and then works on hitting some shots. It's really just, you know, minimal support from that trail hand. Tara, thanks, Tara. Otto just went to golf the other day. Wish I saw this before. Well, the good news is, Otto, you can subscribe now. Find out when the, you know, future live streams are going to be, and you'll be much better prepared for your next game. What are your typical average distances with your irons? So, like, pretty typical, I think, for someone, you know, in my handicap range. You know, pitching wedge is like 135, 9 irons 145, 8 iron 160, 7 iron, you know, 175 maybe. 6 irons like 185, 190, 5 iron, which is my longest iron at the moment, is like, you know, 195, 200. And then I have a 5 hybrid that goes, you know, 205, 210. My 7 wood, I play at like 225. 5 wood is 240, 250. And then driver is like 285. And you might say, well, John, I've seen your videos. I've seen you, you know, posting 170 ball speed, 172 ball speed. You know, that should definitely go further. And well, that's true. You know, when I'm on TrackMan, when I'm working on speed, we definitely can get it out there a little further. But, you know, on the golf course, like I said earlier, I'm really only swinging it 85, 90%. So obviously those numbers are different depending on, you know, the setting. Right, but, you know, if it was... Careful, dogs. you know, the last round of a tournament on 18 and I have to hit, you know, onto a firm green, to a front pin, you know, maybe I would try to hit an 8-iron 165 if I had to really send it up in the air. But generally, it's just, you're not going to get better results, or I'm not anyway, by swinging it, you know, 100%. All right, hit and stop. That was really nicely compressed. You can hear it. You hear that sound, just that crispy. Hit and stop. Pretty good there. And I really want to be able to stop this club like before it even gets past my waist on this side. Oh man, these dogs are nuts. All right, so once again, hit and stop. Really trying to build that feel of this side compresses, this side, you know, rotates and extends. Trying to take a lot of the timing out of my swing, right? You know, this throwing action, trying to get it more consistently delivering, you know, some shaft lane into the ball. Whew. Hey, Tom's here. Tom Borg, what's up, man? Stinka said hi. Hey, Stinka. Shane, what's your ball of choice? This year I've been playing the TP5X with those little squares, the Pix ball. I've really enjoyed that golf ball. Before that, you know, for the last like decade, I've pretty much exclusively played a Pro V1. I guess I don't have any of the TP5X Pix in here. Definitely thought I did. Oh yeah, here we do. There we go. Leave that out here. Yeah, this has been a really good golf ball for me. You know, just doesn't spin that much off the driver. I still like how it feels around the green. I like the little squares for, you know, just watching the ball roll on the green. I don't use the line or anything. I just kind of set it down. Why do I only hit my wedges and irons good on grass and not turf? I don't know. I shot an 83 a few days ago, my personal best. You've been an inspiration these last few weeks to keep improving and practicing, so thank you. That's amazing, Tom. I really appreciate you coming to tell me that. You know, 83 is a really good score. Very exciting. Anytime you can set a personal best, so I really am excited for you, and, you know, it's a really cool feeling to have been even a small part of that, right? To have helped, you know, motivate you or keep you inspired to practice. So these are my favorite moments, guys, when people say, hey, I saw something or I learned something. They come back and say, this had a positive impact for me. This, you know, made my swing better. I didn't slice anymore. Or, you know, like Tom said, hey, I was motivated and I shot a personal best. Like, that stuff is awesome. Good point, Lim. I do think there is something to, you know, the bouncing effect off of turf, although generally most people would think that it makes turf more forgiving, right? It can kind of mask, you know, those fat shots if the club is entering the turf too soon and then bouncing, right? All right, we're gonna hit and stop again. Pretty good. That almost worked. Hit and stop. That was pretty good. I really felt it that time, just this motion. right? That spiral almost of like my head stays still, but everything else is going, right? It's just I'm letting it release. Nice. Again, mix in some of these slower speed reps. Totally different feel than what I'm used to. Like I'm really just trying to maintain that angle. Makes it so much easier to not come out of it, right? There's no need to try and throw it to close the face, right? If you're maintaining that angle, the face should be square. And then you just turn around it. I know it sounds so easy. Tom says, my front yard's about 130 yards. I can practice with a 60, 54, and 50. My scoring around the green has improved immensely. That's awesome. I'm really jealous you can, you know, practice in that kind of setting, right? I love my setup, you know, being able to make full swings all year long under here. But, you know, if you could actually hit wedges, watch them fly through the air, you know, work on your carry distances, right? You know, really be able to dial in the difference between 75 and 90 yards, right? That's really how you start scoring, playing better, you know, knowing with consistency that you're going to, you know, strike that ball solid. It's going to fly the right distance. That's awesome, Tom. Don't worry. Having a good short game is the best. Adam, what's your thoughts on a weak left hand but more bowed at the top? Don't have to shallow as much, but just rotate what you are doing there. Yeah, so that would be, well, I was going to say similar to like a Colin Morikawa, but his left hand is very strong. And he just, you know, kind of rotates really hard with a closed club face. Let me see. Sorry. So weak left hand grip and then really bowed at the top. I think it's definitely doable. I think it's always going to be about matchups, right? Can you deliver a square club face onto the ball? And if the answer is yes, if you know, the golf ball doesn't know what your wrist position is or what your hands are doing on the club, right? It only cares about what the face is doing at impact relative to the ground and, you know, hitting the golf ball, right? So if you can learn how to, you know, efficiently with that matchup do that, then I think you'll be fine. All right, let's just try to hit some like normal ones with this feel. Hi. Oh, you got even more dirt on you. You sure did. Look at you. Look at you. What are you going to tell your mom when she gets home? Huh? You say, Mom, we were having so much fun. Yeah. Definitely felt myself come up and out of it a little bit, but not nearly to the same extent that I had been. And I think also, once you start to feel it and you can tell, what the different move is, that, the old versus the new, that's when you're really onto something. I've chipped in twice now. That's awesome, Tom. Toby says, I'm a fan of the stack and tilt swing method. I do think there's a lot of good things to that method, especially for, like a mid-handicap, high-handicap type golfer. How to hit wedges further. I would tell you, number one, you probably don't need to hit your wedges further. Wedges are for distance control and accuracy, right? Nobody's graded on the PGA Tour by like how far they hit their gap wedge, right? They're measured by proximity to the hole. If you do need to hit the ball further, right, you would need to deloft the club more. You could play it further back in your stance. You could, push the handle more forward at address, right, to deloft that club, get, have the ball flying further through the air. But like I said, you're much better off practicing your wedges to fly a consistent distance with a good strike, be able to, center your shot pattern around your target. So for me, with my wedges, I like to hit, these little like punchy low draws, right? So I know that most of the time, I can aim slightly right of the flag. That ball is going to turn a couple of yards to the left. Some of them it's not going to turn, and it's going to end up, a little bit out to the right. Some will turn a little too much and end up to the left. But the idea is, can you center your shot pattern around that target? If I had a mower, I'd make a green in the yard. Oh, that's an idea. Hey, Tommy Gunn is here. What's up, Tommy? That was a little bit thin. Let's see how it looked, though. A little bit flat-footed, maybe. Paul guessed my handicap is around 6. Does anyone want to tell him? Right now it's about 2, Paul. And frankly, it's, the highest it's been in quite some time. I usually, like all of last year, I played off of +1. The start of this year, it was closer to that. And then the middle of the year, we just played a lot of bad golf, and it's ticked up somewhat substantially to around 2. But part of the reason we're out here working on the swing and trying to get some of that consistency back. I still shot some good rounds this year. I shot, I was just looking, I posted a 68, a couple low 70s rounds. So it's definitely in there. It's just become less consistent. I like that better, a little less flat-footed. Ooh, very important to stay hydrated. Tommy, just settled in after work, trying to get to play Friday afternoon if I can leave work. That's awesome. Apocalypse, just played my 5th round of golf, shot a 93 from the whites. That's very cool. 93 is great. Very, very good. Do you use any launch monitors? No, I have not invested in a launch monitor yet. And to be honest, guys, I probably, won't be able to for some time. Having just bought a house and getting all this stuff set up. But I do think there's a good opportunity for, a Rapsodo or a Garmin, one of these companies that has one, a launch monitor product, to say, hey, we'd love to have you, John, showcase the product, on your live stream. So I've reached out to some of those companies, and we'll see if anything comes from that. That is, yes, very fair point, Paul. That is certainly a fair point. What's the temperature? I think it's around 65 or 70 Fahrenheit. You know whose swing I've been wanting to try is the Michael Lasasso swing. He like takes it up and he like really just like sits and then goes. Probably have to watch it a few more times before I try it. That was a nice strike. Also, guys, if you have questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the chat. You know, things you're working on. If you're watching, you're like, man, I've really been slicing my driver recently. What can I do about that? Well, just drop a comment. We've had a lot of success helping people with their own games in this setting. I was hit out of the toe. Boo. Come on, John. You're better than that. There we go. That seemed better. Like I'm just starting to actually get the feel, incorporate some of that. Still a little flat-footed, but really trying to exaggerate that. Lenny Lynn, my miss on the driver is a hook. What can I do to combat that? Yeah, so you got to learn how to hit a bunch of big fades, right? When you're on the range, if you're seeing that ball going left, right, just say, hold on. I got to learn how to deliver this club face more open, right? Your hook is caused by a closed club face, right? So you got to learn how to open it. And what I would tell you to do is give yourself a task orientation, right? Don't worry about, well, what's my hands doing? Where's the club face? Just say, I'm going to hit it over there to the right, right? You know, aim, set up like you're going to hit it to center field. And then you're going to force yourself within the confines of your own swing and skill and athletic ability. How do I hit this ball down the right field line, right? I need to force myself to deliver a face that's more open, right? Get that ball going over there to the right. Then once you've developed your skill, right? The skill of controlling the club face and the path and delivering, a square club face to hit the ball straight, or hit fades or draws, whatever your preferred shape is. That's the skill I want you to develop. And to do that, it can be really helpful again to exaggerate these things. Like, how do I hit a huge slice? Maybe I pick the club up really steep, right? Or how do I hit a huge hook? Maybe I'm getting stronger with my grip, or, again, whatever it is that you feel, learn how to, hit some big hooks and hit some big cuts, right? And then from there, once you start building those skills, and you can say, okay, I know, how to hit a variety of shapes within my own swing, and making adjustments or moving the ball or whatever it is. Then you can start to say, I'm going to hit this ball straight, or hit it with a little draw. Confidence has been huge. Definitely agree with that. Appreciate you guys. All right, I'll be back in 1 second. We got to get this dog some water. Yeah, here. Come on. No more deceleration. I used to take 2 chips because I would decel. Yeah, so I've definitely you guys have heard me say this before on the stream, right? But especially if you're a beginner, the #1 chip shot that you need to learn is one where you can consistently play your next shot from the green. It can be a low bump and run. It can be a high flop. But you need to develop a shot that you feel very confident saying, okay, no matter where I am, call it within 50 yards of the green, I can play my next shot from the green 10 out of 10 times. It might be 30 feet, right? If you're short-sighted and you have to hit a little low bump and run. But you can play your next shot from the green with a putter. That's the idea. How to stop hitting driver like iron? Good question, Connor. So I think what's been helpful for me is understanding what the objectives are. The objectives, the goals are different, right? With an iron, we're trying to swing kind of from high to low. We're hitting the ball first and then the turf, but we're swinging down into the ground, right? With a very lofted face to get that ball up in the air. Whereas with the driver, we have a very low lofted flat face, right? But the ball's on a tee, we're trying to swing it up into the air from low to high, right? To send that ball up into the air with not a lot of spin, right? To hit the ball as far as we can, and with a square club face, it'll go straight, right? So your approach, your setup should be different with these different clubs. Again, the goal, the objective is different. So with an iron, I'm trying to really feel like, very centered, like I can just turn and stay right on top of this ball so I can swing from high to low, down, hit the ball first, and then I'm going to take a divot after the ball, right? Whereas with the driver, longer club, I'm going to set up more, with my shoulders tilted up, my hips, my left hip is higher than my right, right? I'm really set up in order to get my weight behind this ball and then hit it, send it up into the air. Oh, is there a squirrel up there, buddy? Good job. Did you see him? Did you see a squirrel? Where? Look at you. You're covered in dirt. Covered in dirt. Oh, yeah. Look at that, buddy. You were right. You were right. I have bad news, though. You're not going to be able to get him. He's up in the tree. He's up in the tree. So what do we do now? It's like, I don't know. I don't know what we do next. Don't hit the dog, never. Yeah, that's my main concern, right? Do you try to shallow the club? Good question, Adam. Not really. I don't actively try to shallow it. I'm much more, ideologically inclined to the single plane type of swing, right? Where you just send the club up and then it comes back down on a pretty similar plane. I obviously there's lots of ways to swing a golf club. You can definitely, have a very aggressive shallowing move like a Sergio Garcia, right? But again, the idea is to get the club face back to the ball square, right? Hit the ball first, then the ground, some shaft lean, the hips are open. So your swing can look totally different. Obviously, Jim Furyk and John Rahm look like they're doing different sports, right? They don't even have anything close to similar swings. But both find a way to get the club face on the ball. Get on the green as fast as possible. Paul likes the dogs. Thanks, Paul. Beautifully said. I can tell you are a great ball striker. Well, it's taken a lot of practice, and I don't know if I would say great. I would say okay. I would say I'm an okay ball striker. Excuse me. Are you going to help us practice? You going to help us practice? Go on. Go find your brother. Go get him. Good job. So I've been working hard on maintaining, this spine angle, just rotating, right? Not, kind of sliding and flipping as what I used to do. So it's not easy, but when you do a good rep like that, it does feel worth it. You're just like, man, that was a totally different move than what I'm used to. And you can feel it. You can tell the strike is just different. Ooh, thank you guys, seriously, for all the support. We got, what, 150 watchers? I think we had like 300 earlier. Super cool to just, you know, see the channel continue to grow. All you guys, you know, coming back to watch more streams, to watch more videos. I'm super, super just, you know, blown away and grateful for the support, all the comments, all the people sharing the videos. You know, we're just had no idea what this would turn out to be when I started doing YouTube, and to now have, you know, built this platform and to have, you know, had some small amount of success, you know, in the few months since we started doing this. I just couldn't thank you guys enough. You know, it's really validating to, you know, talk about things that are hard to talk about, or unpleasant to talk about, and to have you guys say, hey, we're here with you, you know, we're pulling for you. It's been super cool. So like I always say, you know, you guys keep showing up for me, I'll keep showing up for you. Right? That's the deal. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That's the one, right? Where it's just more trying to get rid of this, right? This is what I used to do. And we want it to be this. Boom. Nice to know that I can still make a full swing and get the club on the ball. Really starting to wear out this part of the face, unfortunately. Your preferred iron shot shape is a fade, I can tell. Yeah, definitely. I've been hitting a lot of draws simply because I've been striking out of the toe so much. But again, a lot of that was from the standing up and throwing it, right? Who do you have lessons with, or do you just teach yourself? Yeah, I just teach myself. How to clear hips without lifting right leg. So I think, again, you just gotta, Aiden, work on it really slow. Like, you know, practice the motion you're looking for, right? So if you want this left hip, you know, to not come up, right, then you just gotta practice at slow speed. How do I do that, right? What does it feel like, and how is that different than what I currently do? These are, guys, the 2011 TaylorMade Tour Preferred MB irons. I just rebuilt these, put these new ferrules on. If you want to watch that live stream, it's from a week or two ago. But I played these for years, you know, pulled the heads off, used the shafts for some other irons, and then said, you know what, heck with that. Let's go back to our trusted blades. And so I rebuilt these, got some new ferrules. Just been a huge proponent, or, you know, fan of the TaylorMade brand for a long time. Going back to the, like, SLDR driver days. You know, if you guys remember that driver, that was a really good one. I saw a comment about Justin Rose. Same feels you see from Justin Rose. Can't argue with the way he swings the club. Keep it up. Oh, I appreciate that, Paul. What about your other clubs? But yeah, let's do a quick little, an impromptu what's in the bag, right? So we just talked about the irons. So we'll start at the top. Here, you know what? We'll just bring the whole bag over here. And for those of you who've been asking for what's in the bag, you're going to get it live on the stream. Hi. Hi. Let's see. Hopefully you guys can see this. All right, so we're just going to record it. We'll do it during the live stream, so you guys will see the what's in the bag for the very first time live, and then it'll probably get clipped and spliced up maybe and then sent back out, because I've not done an updated one like I've been promising. So we're going to do it right now, live on the stream. All right, let's start. Let's start with the driver. Start with the shaft. I've had this shaft for years now. This is the Obon Kiyoshi Purple. It is a 65 gram 0.5 flex shaft. and I've got that bolted into a QI10 Max driver head. We did a lot of testing at the beginning of the year between this and the core head, and didn't find really any reason not to go with this one. You know, the spin was perfectly in line with what I was hoping to see. This is a 9-degree head that I have turned down to 7 degrees. Some of that is to keep the spin down. Some of it is to, you know, keep that face looking more open at address. Right, so that's the driver. We've got our mid-pines head cover on there. Next up is the 5-wood. Same shaft, 10 grams heavier. Oban Kiyoshi purple, 75 grams, 0.5 flex. TCC Brook-On head cover, very cool club. This is a Stealth 2 5-wood, 18 degrees. This goes about 240, 250 yards. Had this in the bag for a number of years, really like this club. Probably my go-to, you know, sub-driver T club. Next up with the Tobacco Road head cover, we've got this 7-wood. This is the new QI35 from TaylorMade. Got a 70-gram Kylie X-Flex Mitsubishi shaft in here. Love this club, really good for hitting into par 5s or those really aggressively long par 3s. Way easier to hit than a 3 or a 4 iron, so definitely look at a 7-wood, guys, if you haven't already. From there, you know, my next gap is that kind of 205, 210 range. We've got a 5 hybrid, QI10 Rescue, 25 degrees. This has a recoil dart X-Flex shaft in it. And also, guys, I didn't mention earlier, but I should have. All the clubs have jumbo size Tor Velvet grips on them with a couple extra wraps under the right hand, so there's a less taper in the grip than usual. I did those myself on the stream a while back. We just talked about them, but let's talk again about the irons. These are the TaylorMade Tour Preferred MB irons from 2011. So this is the 7 iron here. Just rebuilt these, put these back on these C-taper shafts. These are 125 gram S Plus Flex, those same jumbo grips, and put some new of these green ferrules on it. So really happy with how these came out. Like I said, I've had these for years, tried something new, decided to go back to these, just got them rebuilt up a couple weeks ago. Super happy with how they came out. So that's 5 through 9 iron, those irons, guys. And then we have all Vokey wedges, right? 46 degree is the pitching wedge. And then from there we go 52, 56, and 60. 0.5 flex. Oh, 0.5 is the same as X. So 0.4 would be stiff. 0.3 is our... these are SM8 Vokey wedges, guys. 46, 52, 56, and 60 degrees, like I said. The 46 and 52 are F grinds, right? You know, mostly hitting full swings with those. Whereas the 60 and 56, I have M grinds, right? And I mostly, you know, 95% of my shots around the green, I'm hitting with a 60 degree. So I like this M grind because it really allows me to, you know, play a variety of shots, right? I can close the face and hit some low ones. I can, you know, open the face really easily without getting that leading edge up too high. It has a good amount of relief both here on the toe and on the heel, right? So this is my favorite club in the bag, probably, especially for around the green, my Vokey 60 degree. And last but not least, we've got our Lab putter. This, guys, has been a game changer for me. Just having the confidence that I can start the ball online on those short putts. This is a 34-inch Lab DF3 model that has the press pistol 2-degree grip on it. I putt left hand low, right? Trying to keep my shoulders as level as possible. Right, so this has been a really nice addition to the bag this year. Lie angle balance, if you're not familiar, is the technology, right? Zero torque. You know, the idea being that this club face will stay square to that angle, you know, through the stroke. And I'll tell you guys, for me, maybe it's just in my head, but it really does seem like it starts the ball where you aim it, which for me has been really, really nice. So that is a quick impromptu what's in the bag. If you guys have questions, drop them in the chat, and I'll be sure to answer them. So hopefully that was helpful, guys, to give you a quick, rundown overview of what's in the bag. All right, there were some questions here. Senior flex shafts are nice. Tom, oh no, Tom, these are steel C-taper shafts. They just have this matte finish that looks a little bit different. It's a stepless shaft, as you see, right? Like if you're familiar with a dynamic gold type shaft that would have the steps in it, right? So it has a bit of a different look, but this is intended to be a low launch, low spin type of shaft. So, at a certain point, you're struggling, with enough speed to keep the ball down, right? I don't want to hit the ball way up in the air where it's going to get hit by the wind and lose control of it. So I got fit into these shafts a number of years ago, and I've just stuck with them. Like I said, I had these heads on them, then they had a different set of irons, different set of heads on them, and now back to these TaylorMade MBs. As you guys can probably tell, I've spent a lot of time hitting these. It did throw us off. Are those re-gripped or standard? Oh, these are re-gripped. I re-gripped these myself, like I said, with the Jumbo Tor Velvets. Hopefully you guys can see that. And I also built up this bottom hand with a little extra tape, right? So my grips there's much less taper, right? And, until you get down to the really end of the grip, right? But this right hand, even in the middle of the grip, it's going to feel, pretty much the same diameter all the way through. Ryan, what's your handicap? Usually around 0. Andrew said hi. Hey, Andrew. Paul said thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, what is the bounce on the 60? The bounce on the 60 degree it's the M grind, but it's 8 degrees of bounce. All right, hopefully you can see that. And clearly it's, almost time for new wedges. These are getting pretty worn, hitting a lot of shots with them. Paul, have you always had the name on the backside of the grip? Oh, yes, logo down is what we call it. I have been a logo down guy with my grips for, 15 years probably. And part of that is I used to really choke down a lot on some shots, and I didn't like seeing this logo. So when you put the logo down, right, you just get this nice clean grip to look at the whole way. Brother, do you know about Bangladesh? I know a little bit, not as much as I would like, and I can't say I've been to Bangladesh, but I would like to come someday. I think the closest I've been to Bangladesh would be Nepal. Nepal is a very cool country. I was fortunate to visit some years ago. Actually got engaged to my now wife on that trip, so that was really fun. You stop swinging for 5 or 10 minutes to talk about what's in the bag, and you start stiffening up. So we'll answer some more questions here. Why do I hit all my irons the same distance? I would guess it's probably a combination of strike quality, not consistently hitting the center of the club face, as well as club head speed, right? So if you're, delivering like an open face and you're hitting it maybe on the heel or the toe, with a not enough club head speed, you might end up seeing those distances go, pretty similar. But I would suggest, trying to see some data, trying to get on TrackMan and see if you can, get some angle of attack, some club face data, right? Something to give you some insight as to what might be happening. Right, because there's really only a couple choices. It's, you know, club head speed is similar, which I would be surprised by, given the, you know, difference of the length of the clubs. And then it's ball speed, right? You know, how efficiently are you delivering that speed into the ball? Try hybrid irons. Do you ever get over to Europe to play golf? I've not played golf in Europe for a few years. I did play in Germany a few years back. Buddy, I know, the squirrel is not gonna get down. I know, there is a squirrel up there. You identified it very correctly. Hey. No. Settle down. Do you need to go inside? Go on. You know, they saw a squirrel. They don't give a damn what I'm talking about. If you come to Bangladesh, I'll promise I'll fully support you. Oh, that's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. That's very cool. Come play some courses here in Scotland. Great courses if the weather is nice. Yeah, Scotland is really high on my list. My wife and I went for her 30th birthday not long ago and spent some time up in Isle of Skye. That was an unbelievable trip. And fortunately, you know, my wife knows that I'm a golf sicko, so she said, hey, we can make a little detour, go over to St. Andrews. And we happened to be there on a Sunday, and I learned in real time that day that they let the public walk around on the golf course like it's a park every Sunday, which I thought was super cool. So I just got to walk around the old course, you know, like a kid in a candy store being like, that's the road hole bunker. And there's people just walking their dogs and hanging out. And I was like, oh my God, this is the old course. Like what? You know, I'm like touching the grass and the sand in the like a complete nerd. But I did not get to play golf on that trip. So definitely really high on my list is to do a Scotland trip, an Ireland trip, spend some more time playing over there. Ryan, I play the TP5X with the picks on it. Got one. Oh, I must have put it back in the golf bag. Here we go. So TP5X with the picks. Hey, Jesse's here. J-Hammer. Young Grace said hi. Lim. I use Strixon balls for practice because I'm sick of losing my Pro V1s. I think that's it's an okay strategy as long as you don't think that it's impacting your practice, right? If you're not like, well, you know, I'm practicing hitting a 9-iron, it goes 150, and then I change the ball and it goes 155 or 145. You know, that could maybe make a difference, but other than that, I think it's a good strategy. It does feel much easier now that I'm doing it properly, because it's just a turn and a turn. It just feels like much less work. It's probably a better way to say it. Hi, you're in the danger zone. I know, you're a mess. Look at you. Look at you. Look at this dirt coming off of you. Huh? Oh, you're a happy girl. You're a happy girl. I'll be honest, guys, I was unsure about getting the second dog. My wife really had to convince me, and it was one of the best things we ever did, right? There's something about how they can interact with each other and play and communicate that no matter how much time you spent with a dog, how much attention you give them, you can't replicate that, you know, dog-to-dog interaction, right? The way that they interact with each other and play and have fun. So it's been really rewarding. Doesn't seem to impact my game when I make the switch. Well, that works. Same ball as me. Very cool, Paul. Elijah, hey, thanks for taking the time to do these. Of course, I love doing this. I was wondering if you had any tips or drills to help me drop my hands through the swing instead of coming over the top. Thanks in advance. Good question, Elijah. Lots of us struggle with this. So a couple things I'll tell you. A lot of over the top comes from the takeaway, actually, right? So if your takeaway gets in here, inside, right close to your body, then the natural response, the only way you can really get back to the ball is to go this way, right? So make sure that your takeaway is nice and wide. Keep that club head far away from you in the takeaway, right? Give yourself all this space to let that club just fall, right? So if you've sorted that, if you make sure, your takeaway is good, Then do some really slow motion reps, right? Bryson does a great drill where he goes to here, then he, like manually, like drops his hands, and then finishes the swing. You can even hit balls that way, right? Where you take it to the top, drop the hands, and then go and hit, right? The other thing to understand is when that change of direction happens, there needs to be a tiny pause, like a little bit of time for that club to change direction, right? So try to feel almost like a pause. You can do these freezer drills. You guys have seen me do this before, where you'll take it to the top, pause, and then go and hit, right? So give yourself that time to let the club start to fall, right? That's really what shallowing is just the change of direction. You don't really need to manually like start laying the club down or, doing any kind of crazy adjustments. But just give yourself that time at the top. And remember, we want to swing fast at the golf ball. We don't want to swing fast from the top, right? So when I used to get steep, it's because I was getting to the top and saying, okay, time to swing, and then throwing the club, and it goes out this way and steep, right? We want it just kind of coming down on the same plane that we sent it up. So to do that, you really just have to let the club fall. Another great drill, this works for tons of different things. Make some swings with just your lead arm on the club, right? So you can start with your feet together, club out in front of you, take a step. And again, no right hand on the club at all. This is just to really help us understand that sequencing. So much of golf is a lead side motion. So give those drills a try. Let me know how it goes. Jeremy's here from Indiana. Caleb wants to know what clubs I use. These are the TaylorMade MB or Tour Preferred MBs. Tom, I work at Dick's Sporting Goods, and they just train the golf lead on how to do it. You answer a bunch of questions about how your shot shape and handicap and preferences on firmness and such. There's other stuff too, but it's questions about your preferred ball flight and stuff like that. Oh, very cool. Just got fit for a ball, Bridgestone. Very cool. Jesse says, just want you to truly know if you hang in there, this is going to be huge. You do a lot for us, bro. We just do not tell you enough. Thank you. That's very nice of you to say, Jesse. I really appreciate that. That's a very nice comment and very, validating that at least somebody thinks, we're doing something valuable here. Whatever works for you is right. Very cool. Have you ever tried the muscle cavities? No, I have not tried those, but I'm sure they are good. Hopefully just a little bit more forgiving than these. Edinburgh said, hi from South Korea. A rat just crawled across that thing behind you. I don't think so. That would surprise me. And if you were talking about my dog, then that would be Instaban. Who's that? Who's that lady? What? Hi. Hi. The other thing we could do is actually just rewind the tape if we wanted to. Maybe a squirrel. Oh yeah, there are lots of squirrels around. You probably heard the dog barking earlier. He'll see one and be like, I just gotta get it right now. When you do strike the ball perfect with them, it's beautiful. Yeah, I do wonder. I'm not convinced that I need, a true blade iron at any, even with like an 8 or a 9 iron anymore. Excuse me, you gonna dig right there? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Go on. Go on. Go on. Go on out. Thank you. Obviously I love how they look, and I've spent lots of time learning how to hit them. But Edinburgh, yeah, we talked about your oh, I do remember you. It comes up as a different name on here sometimes. Thanks for coming out to check out the stream again. How to get more spin on irons like 6 and 7 irons. If you're not spinning it enough, I would I would check your strike, right? You could be catching it, you know, a little bit lower on the face than you think. Make sure that you're really striking the center of the face. But if you're, you know, if you're struggling to hold the greens with those longer irons, I would tell you it's more likely to be not hitting it high enough, right? You know, maybe not having enough club head speed to really launch those clubs up in the air. That is often what you see with people who are, you know, who can hit a pitching wedge, a 9-iron, but really struggle with like a 5 or a 6-iron. Totally different feel for me to really just try to have this rotation, but I'd say you're consistent enough. Well, I don't know about that. I just think, you know, they're definitely going to be good when it's good. But if I, you know, if I'm off a little, if I'm not, you know, striking the ball super solidly, I just feel like there is more of a penalty. But with that said, there is something to, you know, the level of focus that it requires, right? I find myself you know, when I had like more of a CB iron that was more forgiving, I just, you know, didn't pay attention as much to striking it solidly because I just knew like, oh, that, you know, I can kind of hit it anywhere on the face. That, you know, it's going to still be okay. Whereas with these clubs, I really have to pay attention and, you know, make a good strike on the ball. Still thinking about Jesse's nice comment. That's super cool. You know, for somebody to say, hey, don't quit doing what you're doing. It's valuable and worthwhile. That's really nice. That was hit really hard. I'm finally starting to get that feel for, it's that driving, out, now, come here, come on buddy, out, come on. Come. Ooh, it's important to stay hydrated out here. Hey, Ben's here, Bentherium. Pete, yeah, definitely give it a try. I'm glad that the irons were good. You know, again, with any drill, with any, you know, when you're working on something at the range, there is an adjustment period where you have to really incorporate the new motor movement and be able to confidently bring that with you to the golf course. Go on. Good job. That felt really, really solid. Let's see how it looked on the old camera. A little steep. Max, good question, Max. Do you breathe a certain way prior to taking the club back and impact? I was just curious if that was the thing. So I don't think it's a conscious thing, but I definitely feel like any sort of athletic motion, right? You're not going to be, you know, breathing in while you do it. Right? So there is a, you know, an inhale right before you take the club back, and then kind of an exhale, and then you resume breathing after the swing, right? But it would feel very strange to me to, you know, be in the middle of the backswing, me taking a breath. That was flush. If you guys are enjoying the stream, hanging out, and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, go ahead and smash that subscribe for me. Hey, Jose's here. Hola, Jose. ¿Cómo estás, amigo? Si quieres, yo puedo hablar poquito de español, pero mi capacidad en ese momento no es superior porque para mí es difícil practicar cada día. Oh, perita. Hi. 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 You guys help him practice? You gonna help us practice? Yeah? Help him practice? What? What's your favorite club, buddy? You like this one? You like this one? You're all dirty. Look at you. Is your sister tackling you again? Yeah, I bet she was. I bet she was. You guys having fun playing? Yeah? You like your new backyard? Look at your tail. Look at that tail. That's a happy dog. That's a happy dog. Yeah. Yeah, look at this guy. Yeah. You a good guy? Oh, look at that smile. Look at that smile. Yeah, see, you got so much dirt on you. Look at you. I know. I know. You had fun? Yeah. Having fun hanging outside? Una cerveza, por favor. That's a good one to know. Soon to be Broadway star said, hey, what's up? Hey, guys. Which arm is lead during the swing? So the left arm, the front arm, is really going to be driving most of the swing. Right? This arm is really just there to, you know, guide the club onto the ball and add some speed right at the end. But all right, let's do a few more of these hit and stop drills. The idea here is to make a normal full swing, send the ball the normal distance, but we're trying to stop that club as quickly as we can after impact. Nice. Really, you know, you can feel it doesn't allow you to let this hip go this way, right? It really just goes, boom, like close, almost like it's getting closer to you. What? You said no more practicing? Is that what you said? I know. It is probably past your dinner time. But we've been out here having fun, hanging with the people, doing our stream, working on our game. Francisco's here. Lim's still here. I know. It is probably past your dinner time. All right, so hit and stop again, guys. Go full backswing, and then boom, try to stop that club as fast as we can after impact. This feels like a very, very, very effective drill for me. I can feel it getting a little steep maybe still. Let's see. Yeah, just steepening a tiny bit. Hey, Keegan's here. Do you prefer hitting full swings or tapering off the power? So on the golf course, I definitely prefer hitting like 3/4 shots, right? You know, so if I have 150 and I'm not worried about, you know, say I'm trying to hit at 150. Well, most of the time I might pull like a, you know, just a full 9-iron. But ideally, like for me, I'm going to prefer finding a reason to hit like a 3/4 8-iron, right? You know, being able to take more club, take some speed off it, you know, shorten the swing some and abbreviate that follow through. For me, that has proven to be a little bit more effective. Hi, I know, you're not supposed to eat the grass. You're not supposed to eat the grass. I know. I know. Come on, out from there. Out from there. Go on. Go on. I know. We're going to get your breakfast in a minute. All right, guys. We're going to do this one more time. Hit and stop. Not our best. Only got it to stopped about here. We're trying to get it stopped really close. Yeah, that was hit good. Maybe I just don't care that it... That didn't look good either. Oh, that one was, the last one was good. Miles is here. As a beginner, would you say it's better to spend most of your time on the range or on the course? I think a mix of both, right? You got to learn how to get around the golf course. I do think there's something to be said for, you know, building some skills, right? Learning at a slower speed on the range. How do I, you know, send this ball pretty straight? How do I, you know, strike the ball and then the turf? So I do think there's a lot of valuable things that you can and should learn before you get on the golf course, but they're both important. And then once you've, you know, developed a pretty, you know, decent swing, and you can get your way around the course, you know, then I would say spend 80% of your time learning how to play, practicing your short game, you know, learning how to putt, right? You know, learning how to score. Because once you can hit a decent golf shot, it's just about consistency. All right, now we'll hit a few kind of just regular full speed ones. What's the matter? Huh? You barking at the squirrels again? I know. So let's see how that one looks. So it's still like just maybe a tiny bit steep. What's the benefit of trying to stop the club after impact? So what I'm working on, Owen, is just sore shoulders. So Lim does not like this drill. The point of the drill is to not allow yourself to early extend, right? You know, to get this hip going this way and coming out of your posture, which is what I've really been working on, is just rotating around my spine. That was hit really hard. I do struggle because my inclination is just always to go this way, right? Instead of just letting that club I think we're on to something, guys. I think we're really making some good progress here. Hi. You're in the danger zone again. Danger zone. Danger zone. I know, we're going to do a couple more swings and then we're going to go feed you guys. Go on. Go on. All right. Man, that strike just feels really, really good right now, guys. I wish, Ryan, I wish I had a launch monitor, maybe someday. But having just bought a house, it is not currently in the cards. That was clean, Lemmy. You're exactly right. That last one was very good. Still a little bit flat-footed for my liking. But again, that's the idea of, you know, working on stuff. But Ryan, if you own a launch monitor company and you want me to, if you want to sponsor the stream, we could definitely get that set up. I do think it would be an awesome opportunity for one of these companies to say, like, hey, if you have an outdoor, you know, at-home hitting setup, here's how much value you could add with an at-home launch monitor. And someday, I'll just buy one, right? But if somebody came along before then and wanted to sponsor the channel and say, hey, you know, this is how much value you could get from one of these outdoor things. Yeah, that was really good, that last swing there. Look at that. Look at that spine angle. Up on the left heel. Really, really pumped with how that last swing looked. Coming up on the 2-hour mark here, guys. That's going to do it for tonight's stream. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for me. Really does help us out. You know, we're trying to be able to do this stuff every day. You know, stream, give lessons, coaching for you guys. You know, keep making more content, being able to film stuff on a more regular basis. So you guys keep supporting me. I'll keep, you know, trying to my best to show up for you guys. And, you know, the more engagement, the more likes, shares, comments, all that stuff, you know, the faster the channel will grow, the more we can get, you know, towards doing more of this stuff more regularly, right? Not, you know, working a 9 to 5. So someday that's the goal, right? I'd love to be able to, you know, share some positivity and lessons and insight with people and be able to pay my bills doing it. So let's keep it going, guys. I'm going to keep working. You guys keep working hard on your games. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time. 81 likes. You guys are nuts. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate all the love, guys. Thank you. All right. We will see you next time.